I just woke up, so good morning. I have a few meetings today and I'm also going to my kids' Christmas concert. So I won't have a full face on, but it's not gonna be too heavy. It's gonna be kind of like an everyday makeup look. So I'm gonna show you exactly how I create this. I'm gonna start linking these videos on my LTK. You can get that in my bio so that you guys can know all of the brushes and the products. I'm starting with the overnight serum. I'm gonna use 3 pumps. Now I've been using this morning and night, and I don't know what's in this, but it makes my skin look incredible. I'm almost out. I need to get another bottle. And this sits really nicely underneath makeup. So some serums can roll a little bit underneath makeup, but no matter how hard you push on this serum, it doesn't ball up, which I really like. And it does provide a lot of moisture. I'm gonna let that settle in for a minute and do my eyebrows. This is the brow pencil from Sephora collection, and these are actually what I use in my kit as well. Now this is the color medium brown. Usually when my hair wasn't dark, as of yesterday, I was using the shade taupe, but I'm gonna darken up my eyebrows a bit. So like I said, I want these to match my hair a little bit better. This is the color Bisque from Makeup by Mario, and I've actually been using this all over the top of my eye just to even my eye out. So it's basically, I'm using it as an eye primer. I'm taking the A506 from BK Beauty, and I'm just lightly tapping this into the skin. If you are applying eye primer or concealer on the top of your eye or underneath your eye and you're using a lot of pressure when you blend it out, so you're taking your brush and you're going like that, which is very common, make sure that you're just using little tiny taps because we want coverage, especially around our eyes. If you're adding too much pressure, you're just going to be taking that product off. So you want to use lighter pressure. So now I have a good amount of coverage on the top of my eyes. And I don't know if YouTube has met Sunny yet. This is my Chihuahua. She's only 5 months old and she's the love of my life. She is such a sweet girl and she's always in my studio with me. The thing I love about Chihuahuas is they always want to be with you. So she follows me absolutely everywhere. Moving on. I just got this palette from Lawless. It's got these really nice rosy colors in it. So they're not too pink. They do have a brown undertone and they have some shimmer colors. So I'm going to use this today. Tapping in just a little bit. I don't want to soak my entire brush because then you're going to have too much product. You can always add, but it's a little bit more difficult to take away. So I am putting this in my crease and just a little bit above my crease so that when I open my eyes, you can actually see this color. Now, this is another place where you want to have a really light pressure. If you push too hard, it can end up skipping over the eyeshadow and it's going to look muddy and messy. So when you're blending, just go really lightly. With the same brush, I'm going to pick up that lightest color and I'm just going to put that on the top of my lid. I love these little NYX pencils. This one is in the color Milk Chocolate. They're like a little pen and they're so much easier to use than a liquid eyeliner. So I'm going to try and get this as tight to my lash line as I can. And I'm not drawing the line all the way across at one time. I'm going in and doing little swipes. I love to do an eyeshadow topper. This one is Crystal Slipper from RMS. Now I could just leave my eyes like this, but I want to add just a little pop. This is such a pretty pink kind of shimmery color. I have a bunch of these. Where are some other ones? The Patrick Ta Extra Dimension eyeshadows. You just tap them over top of whatever you already have and it makes it emphasized and it makes it look more expensive and more professional. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of this pigment, and this one's a liquid pigment. I'm gonna rub it together in my fingers and then I'm just gonna tap it on top of what I already have there. So right on that eye, the lighter eyeshadow, and kind of up into my crease a little bit. I always curl my lashes. I use the Shiseido eyelash curler. I do find this to be the best one. I have a few different ones, but I love this one. What I'm doing is I'm pinching right at the base, squeezing, and then pumping. So squeezing and then holding that squeeze and pumping. When you're curling really well, you don't need the most expensive mascara. This one is L'Oreal. And make sure that you're really getting on top of those lashes first, then go from the base and wiggle all the way up. I don't normally wear makeup every single day. So what I like to do sometimes when I'm wearing foundation, I don't want it to be heavy, but I do want a little bit of coverage, is that I mix my foundation with my Radiance Booster. So I'm kind of going 50-50 Radiance Booster and then half foundation. Now, when you're choosing a foundation brush, you want it to be short and dense and on a little bit of an angle. This is the 109 from BK Beauty, and it's my favorite foundation brush. And just a little note is that if you're using foundation brushes or brushes in general for yourself, you should wash them once or maybe twice a month. So this is not dirty, it just has some foundation from yesterday on it. So on my foundation brush, I'm gonna pick up my Radiance Booster, which is the Rimmel London Multitasker. This is in the shade Fair Light. So I'm gonna put some of this onto my foundation brush. The Radiance Booster is that glowy product. So it's gonna make our skin look really nice. And then I'm gonna do 2 little pumps of the foundation. This one is the L'Oreal True Match, and this is in the shade 1.5N. So I want lighter foundation. So that means that I don't want to stipple it because that's going to give really full coverage. We can add some more pressure in order to lighten up the amount that we're putting on our face. I'm just going to swipe some here, just kind of all over my face first. Now, if I wanted full coverage, like I said, I'd be doing these little taps into my skin, but I don't want that for today. So I can pull down on this with some pressure. The less pressure, the more full coverage. The more pressure, the less full coverage. So you can take the same foundation and do both things with it. Most foundations you can build up or make them really lightweight. And that's all just by changing how you actually apply them. So you can still see my skin underneath this. It's just making my skin look really good. There are some expensive products that are worth it. This is the Clé de Peau Concealer, and I'm using the shade 3 Beige. This one's one of them because I have fine lines underneath my eyes. So if I use something really full coverage and dry, I look 20 years older. So I'm just applying this under my eyes, and then I'm gonna blend it out with that A506 from BK Beauty. Now remember, this is underneath the eyes. So it really depends on what you want and how much coverage you want. If I go under and I go crazy, we're not gonna get any coverage. If I tap lighter, we're gonna spread out the product. We're still pushing it into the skin, but I'm not swiping back and forth and removing the product. I'm just tapping it, and you can see how it gives that really nice coverage. It's nice and hydrating, but it doesn't, if you applied too much pressure, you just wouldn't get any coverage, and that's kind of the point of putting concealer on. But if you don't want as much coverage underneath your eye, you can put some concealer and press a little harder, and you're gonna get lighter coverage. Do you see how nice this concealer is? It's definitely worth the money because I try a lot of concealers. This is the Makeup by Mario setting powder. It's translucent. It's in the shade Fair Pink. I'm picking up a little, and again, this time we're gonna add some pressure. So I really wanna set this by kind of jamming it into my skin. You don't just wanna do really softly. We really wanna set so that this doesn't move. Just picking up a little bit and then tapping it into the skin. So do you see how nice that concealer is? If I use a bad concealer, I'm telling you, I look like I'm 89 years old. After we have this whole base, now it's time to move on to blush and contour. I want to stay in the same tones as my eyeshadow. So this is the shade Angel, and this is from Lawless as well. It's a cream product. And whenever I'm using a cream product, I'm using a short stippled brush, like a stippling brush, instead of something really big and fluffy. So we can get in there and then just tap it onto the skin. I'm going from the apple of my cheek all the way up to my temple. So we're going like this. Also underneath the eyes. Not putting the blush in right in here, but I am putting it underneath here so that it's going up on an angle like this. When I'm picking a blush, a lip combo, and an eye color, I do like them to be within the same tone. It keeps things really modern. So because these are rosy, I'm doing a rosy cheek, and I'll probably do a rosy lip as well. I usually add a little bit of blush onto my nose. I don't want the nose to be this little white blob in the center of my face. So I do like to add some contour there and some blush. I've been loving this Milani bronzer. It's not too dark. It's in the shade Hey Honey. So I'm just gonna use the same brush because whatever. And I'm gonna put this underneath the blush on my temple and then up into my forehead. Now I do use some pressure when I'm using my cream products to really blend them out and push them into the skin. But again, we don't want to be going back and forth. So that's when things are going to get muddy and you can ruin the foundation that you have underneath. So we've laid down this beautiful layer of foundation and we don't want to disrupt it. So that's why tapping into the skin is the best way to go. But it is human nature to be really aggressive. We want to be tapping it in, but not scrubbing it all around. And then just a little bit at the end of the nose, and I go down each side of the nose. I also like to put some right on the top of the arch of my forehead, over top of my eyebrow right here. So forehead, and then kind of connecting it to the top of my arch. Maybe just a little bit on the jawline. Don't go too crazy if you're going to be seen in person, unless you're just on Zoom all day. I do like to add a little blush topper. This is On Cloud Pink from Catrice. So I'm just tapping in with a fluffier brush and just kind of going over top of that. You can see the little sheen that this has. So I'm just going over top of my cream product. And I like to fill up the apple of my cheek so that we look really nice and healthy. We've got all of our products laid down. Now we need to set the T-zone. This is that same Makeup by Mario setting powder. It's translucent, so it's not going to build up extra product, so it's not going to make us look cakey. When a lot of people sit in my chair and then they're like, I don't want to look cakey, so I don't want any powder, but they're using those pressed compacts that are colored and they're basically a foundation, so it is going to make you look cakey, but this is just translucent powder, so it's not going to cause that cakiness. If you get to work and by 1 o'clock you look in the mirror and you're like, where did my makeup go? That's because you're probably not setting it. Tell me in the comments if that's what happens, because I do a lot of makeup lessons and a lot of people, most people do not set their makeup. And you can see now I've got the shine here, but it's not all over my face. One thing I like to do once I have my powder on is to set it with a serum spray. This is the D'Alba First Serum Spray. You can get this on Amazon. It's one of my favorite products. And even if you were trying to blend out your blush, your contour, and it's just not going good, you can just add a little bit of this and it'll loosen it up a bit and make it a bit creamier so that you're not struggling. Or if it's looking streaky or patchy, just spray this on and then try and blend it out and it will make it more seamless. This is kind of bringing my skin back to life after I've applied all of that powder. So remember, I wouldn't want to go in with a really cool toned lip because my eyes are warm and pink, my cheeks are warm and pink, I have the warm bronzer, so I'm going to keep my lip rosy and warm. And you can see this goes really well with the cheek and the eye. This is e.l.f. Mauve Aside. I'm going to line with this. There are some products to spend money on and there are some products to save on. Lip liner from e.l.f., this is like $4 and it works beautifully, just like the high-end ones. This is the Lawless Gloss. Obviously, I really like the Lawless products. I ordered a bunch from their website and the colors are just my aesthetic. So it looks like this is velvet, the color velvet. I got 3 in the pack and I really, really like them. They're plumping, but they're not like burn your lips off, which I like. So applying this over top of that lip liner to blend the lip liner out. So we are cohesive. Do you see? We're cohesive, which is really modern. This is the color Diamond Glow from Revolution. And I'm just going to emphasize the apple of the cheek and then up on the highest point of the cheekbone and even wrapping it underneath my eyebrow. Now, I'm not putting any right here. So it's kind of going like this. You don't want to extend it all the way up. So just on that cheekbone, a little bit on the nose. I like it on the tip of the nose and down the bridge of my nose. Doesn't need to be a huge little light bulb at the end of the nose, but even for it to catch the light is really pretty. So this is the finished look. I wasn't planning on going this glam, but I kind of just go with it sometimes when I'm applying makeup. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to apply more of this and more of this. And then all of a sudden I look like this, but that's okay. And like I said, I'm going to put all these products in my Like to Know It, which is linked in my bio, so you guys can go and look at all the brushes and the products that I used.